Hello, and thank you for joining our Hangout on Air today. This is Creating Campaigns with Keyword Planner. My name is Rob, and I'm a marketer here at Google on Adwords. With me today is Stephanie from our sales team, who's going to be walking us through some of the powerful things you can do with Keyword Planner. And also Deepti, whose team was responsible for building Keyword Planner, is also here to help us answer any questions you might have at the end of the presentation. So very happy to have Deepti with us as well. As a point of housekeeping, when you guys want to enter questions, there's a comment box directly under the video that you're watching now. Go ahead and enter your questions in at any time during the presentation, and we will try and answer as many as we can at the end. All right, so let's get started. As we think about building AdWords products here at Google, we focus primarily on insights and efficiency. We like to surface information that you need and then help you take action on that information quickly. Keyword Planner is a great example of a tool that provides insights and makes you more efficient, as it lets you find new keywords and ad group ideas. It lets you get performance estimates and help you find the bids and budgets that are right for you, and then it lets you easily add those to your campaigns. So today we're going to cover the basics of Keyword Planner. We're going to talk about how to get started using it. We're also going to go through some of the new Keyword Planner features, and then all the way throughout the presentation we'll be peppering in pieces of information that will help you understand how to use the Keyword Planner versus the Keyword Tool. And once we're finished with that, we'll go ahead and move forward to questions. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Stephanie, who is going to take you through some of the great things you can do with the Keyword Planner. Stephanie?
Thanks, Rob. So what I'm going to do is demo the tool from a brand new account. There's nothing in here, so we're going to start completely from scratch. So when you open up Keyword Planner from the Tools and Analysis tab, you see that you have three options to get started. The first is to search for keywords and ad group ideas, or upload keywords to see how they perform, or multiply keyword lists. For this demo, we're going to start with searching for keyword and ad group ideas. And we're going to use wedding shoes for this example. I can search by product, website, or category, and I'm going to search it to wedding shoes. We're also going to assume that this is a new based company that we're building this up for, and we're going to target both Google and search partners. Now, before we look at the keyword ideas related to wedding shoes, I want to point out that I really like this example because I think it highlights a very niche topic that you really wouldn't think of how else to search for. So before we look at the results, I'm actually going to ask you, Rob, how else would you search for wedding shoes?
Gosh, Steph, I might
actually asking you.
I might try and search for something like flats or possibly high heels.
Okay, yeah, that's really good. That's actually better than I would have expected because I do think this is such a niche topic that, how many ways could there possibly be to even search for this? So let's find out what the results are. Keyword Planner, like Keyword Tool, divides the results into either ad group ideas or keyword ideas. What I really like about the ad group ideas is that it bundles all of the keywords into existing themes. And for wedding shoes, at least I know personally, I probably wouldn't have thought of all of these themes as something that had enough different variations for how people are searching for wedding shoes that they actually merit their own group. So I think some of the really exciting ones are things like wedge wedding shoes, flat wedding shoes, dyeable wedding shoes, pink wedding shoes. So the tool can, as you mentioned, not only help you with efficiency, but also help discover insights and really get a sense of what are consumers searching for when they're looking for your products. In addition to that, you can also, if you hover over this little graph, see what the trending is like. So for wedge wedding shoes, I can also tell, not only are people searching for this a decent amount of the time, but those searches mainly peak between March and May, it looks like, which makes sense during the springtime. So now that we have a few results, I'm actually going to open up this ad group to take a look at what's in here. One of the big new features of Keyword Planner is that we now have this plan, which functions as a shopping cart. So I'm going to go through the wedge wedding shoes ad group and add on a few of the keywords that I like and that I want to include in my plan, which they all seem very relevant. So actually, I do want to keep the majority of these. And you can see as I'm adding them, they all get added to this new wedge ad group. So let's just go with these for now and go back to my results. I can keep building out my campaign by adding on more of these ad groups. Let's go with dyeable wedding shoes, shoes white, flat shoes, low-heeled wedding shoes. We should definitely add ivory and bridal wedding shoes, and let's add pink as well. So now that I've already built out a decent beginning to my wedding shoes campaign, let's say I also want to make sure I include some bridesmaid wedding shoes options. What's nice about the keyword planner is that I can actually do another search. Everything in my plan will remain consistent. So unlike Keyword Tool, I don't have to download my second set of results and aggregate everything into Excel. I'm going to switch over to the Keyword Ideas tab for this example. I'm going to use the plan and create a brand new ad group, which I'll customize with these results. So I'm going to open this up, and let's say I'm interested in a couple of these bridesmaid shoes. And let's just add in a few. So I'll close that. I now have my new ad group for bridesmaid shoes as well. Another thing I want to point out is that in this demo, I'm creating ready-to-implement ad groups, but Keyword Planner is completely flexible. These groups can be whatever it is you want them to be. So let's say you're an agency and maybe you're doing some higher level planning. You can create a new group, and it could just be as simple as something like Category A or everything related to weddings, so that you can do your high level planning. Now that I have my full campaign built out, I'm ready to get some estimates. You may have noticed some of these estimates here updating as I added items to my cart. We added this so you can use it as a benchmark if you have specific traffic goals in mind. So let's say I definitely wanted to have at least 100 clicks per day. I can use this as a signal to know that I should keep searching and adding more keywords to my plan. Or, on the other hand, let's say I only wanted to target around 10 clicks a day, then I know I'm definitely going to have enough traffic, and I can sort of stop the searching process and move forward. But if I click Review Estimates, I'll have the ability to get a lot more granular results. This will take me to what you would have previously associated with the Traffic Estimator tool. So you can see that I have a bid landscape here. This is integrated to help you make a better decision on which bid to pick. What it shows is how many clicks I would get per every single bid change. The default shows me clicks per day, but I can also view this graph for impressions or cost. So I can use this to get a sense that I can really maximize my clicks around this $2 mark. On the other hand, raising my bid to, say, $8 really isn't going to get me that many more clicks, so it's probably not worthwhile for me as a business. Once you've selected the bid up here, you'll see that all your traffic estimates will populate. On this view, you have the option to view it per ad group or by keyword. The total remains the same. It's just how you want to view the segments. You also have the option to add more keywords, create a new ad group, or edit any of the existing ones in case there's something you want to change. You can also edit your match types. By default, these are all broad, but I can change them to exact or phrase, or delete any groups. Lastly, I didn't do this before, but you also have the option to add in any negative keywords. Let's say I know as a business I definitely don't want to show up against any queries that include. If I add those in, my traffic estimates will actually update to take that into consideration so that I won't be showing up on any of those broad match terms. And you can see my daily estimates decreased a little bit once I added those in. Once I'm done, I have the option to download my plan as either an AdWords editor CSV, so it can upload it directly to AdWords editor, or as a CSV. I can also include historical stats as well as the traffic estimates that I got on this page, which are specific to me as an advertiser. If I don't want to load this through AdWords Editor or through Excel, I also have the option to just add it directly to my account, which I think is pretty great. This is we do have the option to add it to an existing campaign. Since this is a new account, we're just going to create a brand new one, and we're going to call this our. And before I add it to my account, I do need to add a daily budget. So let's go with for now. Once I've entered that in, you see I have the option to save and continue. And you can see I've very quickly, in about 5 minutes or so, just created a very tailored AdWords campaign for wedding shoes, which includes all of my ad groups here. And I can then go in and add in any associated ad copy to get them to start running. Let's go back to the Keyword Planner now, though, to show, I want to highlight some of the new features that are in Keyword Planner that didn't exist with the keyword tool or traffic estimator. So I'm actually going to go back to the main results page. And I'll switch this back. So I think the main difference between keyword tool and traffic estimator is that we've created this new shopping cart plan to increase your efficiency and just make an easier workflow between the tools. I mentioned before not having to download each one of these ad groups into Excel and aggregate them later. I also don't have to download them to import them into the traffic estimator tool to get my traffic estimates. All of this is now one singular flow. The next big change with Keyword Planner is that we've moved all of the targeting and filters into this left-hand panel over here. We just wanted to make it very clear and transparent what all of your options were in one place. So I'm going to go through each one of these and highlight some additional changes. The first one has to do with the geo-targeting. So you notice for this example, I targeted New York, the state. This is a brand new feature. We didn't have this level of granularity in the old tools. And just to highlight some of the additional geo-targeting that we have, if I type in New York again, every possible geo-target will auto-populate for me. So you see I can target at the state level, the city level, as well as even Nielsen DMA region. So we have a lot more options for you. This also isn't just limited to the United States. This is a global feature. So to do one quick example, in case anyone joining from across the pond, if I were to search for Yorkshire in England, you see I have the option to even target South, West, or even North Yorkshire. Going through the rest of the targeting, the language targeting and Google and search partners remains the same. And I now have the option to add in any negative keywords up here, just to make it a little bit more of a transparent process. I'm going to skip down to review the include excludes next. I think this is one of the most powerful features in Keyword Planner. What this allows you to do is quickly scrub your keyword lists to only show results that either contain or don't contain certain keywords. So in my wedding shoes example, let's say for whatever reason I only sold white wedding. If I were to add that in, my results will update to only show additional keywords that contain the word white. I already have a white shoes ad group over here, so there aren't too many more, but it's a very quick way to filter through all of the suggestions. Additionally, you could imagine using this to only find results that maybe include brands that you sell. So I could exclude any results that contain brands that you don't sell. So you see how this quickly becomes a very quick way to filter and find the most relevant keywords for your business. Additionally, we've had a few questions about the old include search results that are closely related to my search terms button from the keyword tool. This functionality actually helps you achieve just that. What the old include search terms button did was that it took your input term here and essentially put it into an include. So if I wanted to get the exact same results with the keyword tool, all I would have to do is, and it would only give me results that actually contain the term wedding shoes. What's nice about using the include-exclude filters, though, is that you have a lot more options to make this more robust by using a combination of includes and excludes that you maybe wouldn't include as your product or service in the search field, such as limiting to just terms that include the word white. The next filters that we have on the customized search panel are more options for deduping. So just like the keyword tool, you can still dedupe against adult ideas, but we have two new options. One is to dedupe against keywords in your account. The keyword tool by default was actually already doing this, but we wanted to be a little bit more transparent and also give users the option to dedupe or not. So by default, this is turned on, but if for whatever reason I do want to include terms in my account, I can just switch it so that it will show. By default, I'm also deduping against terms in my plan. This is why when I searched for the white wedding shoes, I only saw results that were incremental to what I had already added here. So whenever I do a new search, I know I'm always finding additional opportunity. Lastly, we have the filters for stats. So just like keyword tool, you have the option to filter if you only want keywords that have a certain amount of search volume, or maybe terms that have are under a certain CPC, or have medium or low competition if you're focusing on the long tail, or just cheaper keywords to bid on. So now that we've gone over the filters for the stats, I wanted to review what all these metrics are, and a new one that we're very excited to launch later today. So in the stats table, we have monthly searches, competition, and average CPC. Competition and average CPC are exactly the same as the keyword tool, where competition shows you relatively how many other advertisers are bidding on a specific keyword and showing up on the same on the first page. Average CPC lets you know what the average CPC is across all of those advertisers on that given term. With average monthly searches, we've made a change to only include exact match query volume on, for the historical stats. Keyword tool, however, defaulted to broad match. The reason we made this change is because, as I mentioned before, we really want users to be able to use this tool to find out what people are searching for and how they're searching for it. With the old keyword tool, sometimes you would get terms such as quote-unquote hotels inn, and users would come back and say, how is it possible that hotels inn is the top search for term in the travel industry? And we would have to say, you know what, actually it's not. No one's searching for hotels inn. It just happens to broad match out to a lot of keywords. So by making the switch, you have a much better sense of how users are searching. That said, you still have the option to get traffic estimates for different match types. You saw in the first demo that you could change match types on the traffic estimates page, but you can actually also do it here. By default, keywords get added to your plan as broad match, but if you know you only want to run on phrase or exact, you can change this here, and those changes will impact your traffic estimates. You'll notice the historical stats don't change though, because these remain as exact match query volume. I'm going to switch this back to broad match for this example. And then my new favorite feature in Keyword Planner is a new metric that we're about to launch today, and it will be called Ad Impression Share. So it's not in the tool quite yet, but I have a mock that I'm pretty excited to share with you guys. So you can see here, this is a similar results page for wedding shoes, but there's a new column for Ad Impression Share. Ad Impression Share will tell you how often your AdWords account is showing up on any given keyword. Now, since the Keyword Planner is helping you find new keywords that aren't in your account, you might be thinking, well, how is it possible to have impression share on something you're not running on? And that's because you may be running on broad match keywords in your account, which show up at, which show ads on other terms that you're not directly targeting. So you could imagine a situation where maybe I'm already running on the term wedding shoes, but I'm broad matching out to flat wedding shoes a percentage of the time. You can use the Ad Impression Share to help find terms that have either low or no impression share coverage that are going to be really impactful for your account and drive incremental volume. On the other hand, if I'm, say, already broad matching out to this term 100% of the time, it may not be as worthwhile or efficient for me to add this to my account. So it's a really great and new exciting feature. And I think one way that could be really great to use it is by searching for keywords that are related to your website. So I'm going to switch back to the tool for a second. Ad Impression Share is always going to be available, but you could imagine searching by your website, let's say example.com, and maybe you even have a wedding shoe, so you can plop that in there. This isn't a real site, so I'm not going to get ideas because nothing will generate, but it will show me all keywords that are related to my site. And since you're deduping against your account, you can quickly see, okay, which keywords am I missing? And then you can add on an additional filter to see which keywords you're missing that also has a low ad impression share. And it's a really great way to quickly find gaps in your coverage. You could also imagine adding on an additional filter, say the include excludes, potentially for your own brand name, and see, you know, what are some of my own brand terms that I'm missing coverage on. And this starts to become a very powerful tool. So excited to have shared that with all of you here today, and look forward to hearing another announcement from us very soon once it's in the tool. Lastly, there's one more new feature that I wanted to highlight. We went through the process of getting ideas for wedding shoes by searching by product, landing page, and you do also have the option to search by category. I wanted to highlight the new feature to multiply keyword lists. This feature basically allows you to get every single combination of several lists. So you can imagine if you have an entire product SKU, you can multiply it against various different adjectives or anything else, really. For this example, with the wedding shoes, I have a small set of lists already built out, and I'm actually going to use the feature to multiply wedding shoes with, let's say, all of the various New York locations that my business is in to make sure I have coverage there. So these are very small example, but you can imagine if I were to have many, say, different locations in a much longer geo list, it saves me a lot of time by using this tool rather than doing it manually. So I'm going to go ahead and get search volume for these results. Oh, actually, let's just go ahead and get estimates. And you'll see it's automatically added as a new ad group in my plan. So instead of having to do this all manually, it's already in there. And I can also see, which terms maybe have more traffic than others and trim some of them out. So that's the entire workflow on how to use the keyword planner to get very specific ideas for your campaign, and hopefully how to save some time in the entire process as well. Rob, are there any questions on your end?
Hi, Steph. There are a couple of questions that have come in through Twitter. Once again, I want to encourage people who are watching, if you have had any questions from today, please go ahead and put them into the comment section right below the video, and we can answer your questions there. One question that came in through the Twitter feed was, what happened to the keyword tool data columns? Could you talk to us about that, Steph?
Yeah. So I'm going to go back to the search results page over here. And just clear this out back to the main wedding shoes example. So all of the columns in the data field are actually still available. So if I were to download my results, you see I can still segment my statistics per month. And if I would have searched by a website, I would also have the option to get the extracted from website URL, which tells me specifically which portion of the site that keyword idea is coming from. So maybe let me just download to show you from my plan. I'm not going to include the traffic estimates just to make this a little faster, and let's switch to CSV. Oh, I thought I had selected the segmented by month, but you can see impression share will be here, which essentially is replacing the ad share, which used to be in the keyword tool. And to run the demo one more time, if I select segment by month, you'll see that this will now pop up in my CSV. So you see I still have the breakout per month here. To go through some of the other features that used to be in the data columns, for anyone who wants to get global monthly searches, all you have to do is switch the targeting to all locations. And you'll see I now have essentially global monthly searches for every single keyword. Do you have any other questions, Rob?
Yeah, we do. We've gotten some through the chat or the comment interface, so thank you for that. One of them basically talks about, using sort of our example, talks about creating branded or very type-specific keyword lists, and basically says, I'll read the whole question because it's a good outline. So to create keyword lists for these clients, we use the main word, in this case wedding shoes, and append the modifying words with model numbers, style names, etc. And then come up with a huge list which we are currently able to dump into the keyword tool with up to 2,500 keywords at a time. And then after we put them in, we can sort by search volume, grab the keywords that actually have traffic. Is there a way to use the keyword planner in this capacity? And so, Deepti, I think you had a response for that.
Yeah, so this is one of the things that you can do with Keyword Planner today, but it's not very visible. So we are working on making it more visible in the tool. But meanwhile, I can or Steph can give you a quick demo on how to do this in Keyword Planner. So,
yeah, that's really. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Deepti.
Yeah. So when you when you're on the splash page, if you select the second option, so Steph, maybe you want to give a quick demo of that.
And before we even go to uploading the keywords, I do want to point out that's a great question, and you can actually even do a majority of that flow with the keyword planner. You mentioned that you were appending certain keywords to the wedding shoes, and you can actually use the multiply feature. Sorry, let me go try and get back to that splash page. You can actually use that multiply feature to concatenate all of those keywords, even directly within the tool. I'm just going to start over to get over here. So the multiply list, which I demoed before, you can actually add on more columns if you have more robust, product lists. And once you have that, or even if you do this on your own in Excel, DeepD is going to go through the upload keywords to see how they perform.
Exactly. So you can input all of the keywords that you're interested in, looking at historical data for. And then there are two options when you upload a list of keywords. You can either get traffic estimates by clicking on the blue button, or you can actually also get historical search volume by clicking on the other button, which is next to the Get Estimates button. Steph, do you want to give a quick demo?
Yeah, and I also want to mention, I think in the question you were uploading 2,500 keywords at a time. The limit has actually increased if you upload a file. So you can actually upload even up to 3,000 keywords at a time. For this demo, though, I'm just going to enter in, the term wedding shoes and get estimates from there. So in this example, I just have that singular term, but if you have that full list, you could have uploaded all of them. Whether as a flat list or if they were already grouped, you can maintain the grouping as well.
Excellent. Thanks, Steph. Thank you, Miranda, for that question. We've got a question from Eric next. Eric points out something interesting. Traffic estimates are lower for smaller cities. And so how do agencies in smaller areas get truly accurate traffic data? DT, I know you also have an answer to that.
Yeah, so we are always working on improving the quality of our traffic estimates. But in general, the more data we have, the better our estimates tend to be. So for smaller cities, since the data we have is limited, sometimes the results are not as accurate as they are for larger cities. So this is something that we are always working on, to improve. But this is a limitation that we are aware of.
Thanks, DT. And thank you, Eric, for that question. Once again, I want to encourage anybody who's on, if they have more questions, feel free to add them. We did have another one that came from Twitter that I wanted to call out. This is probably one Steph or DT can take. Can you still use Keyword Planner if you already have a set of keywords?
Yes. So that's also a great question. So even if you're not concatenating keyword lists, it's possible that maybe you're pulling keywords from your Google Analytics account or another source. In that case, you can actually use the same upload keywords to import them into Keyword Planner to get those traffic estimates, or, as DT pointed out, just see what the search volume is. If you want to apply any deduping against your account or filtering, you can also do this here.
Excellent. All right, guys, we don't have that many more questions coming in through the comment section. I have one more question, and then if we don't have any more questions after that, we'll probably end our broadcast for today. But I'm going to throw out one more just that I had when you were going through that step. Can you use the Keyword Planner to come up with negative suggestions? I actually don't know the answer to that.
Yes. So in my demo, I gave did one example where I added in a few negative keywords here, but let's actually modify my search and do that search for wedding shoes again. So as I'm going through the list, it's possible that you might find keywords that you actually don't want to show up against. So one example here, let's see. These all look good, but I think before we maybe saw some where cheap wedding shoes or maybe discounted wedding shoes was coming up. So when you find terms like that, you could either add them to your exclude, just so that you won't get results related to it, or by adding it directly to your negatives. This will impact not only your search results, but also your traffic estimates, and will also be downloadable so that you can add this list to your actual account. So I'm just going to add in another term there.
All right, well, we've got some more questions that have come in. Thank you guys very much. This is from Kelly. Eventually, will we be able to see estimates for modified broad match keywords? Deepti?
Yes. So this is one of the very highly requested features, and this is something that we're actually actively working on. So we hope to be able to launch this feature early next quarter. And we're very excited about incorporating the functionality to be able to get estimates for broad match modified keywords.
Excellent. It's coming soon. Very cool. A question from Danny, and this is actually part of why we've taken you through this Hangout today. But how long will the old keyword tool remain available?
So we hope to sunset it today. And that's one of the reasons that we wanted to do this Hangout on air, to be able to answer any questions you all might have.
And that was in some of the messaging for today's webinar as well when we launched it. So, sorry, we have another question that just came in. What format are the negative keyword added in, and are they at the campaign or ad group level?
Sorry, Steph, you want to answer this question?
Oh, go ahead. I was just going to say that these are all at the campaign level.
Yep. So exactly. So they're all at the campaign level, and they are in the format that you specify in the input field. So which is by default broad, but you can also enter them as phrase or exact.
A second piece of that question, if you're using the tool to create a proposal, is this tool available externally? I'm not quite sure what that means.
I think the tool is definitely available externally if you have an AdWords account. So once you log into your AdWords account, if you go to the Tools and Analysis tab, you'll see Keyword Planner listed right here, and you'll be able to access it from any one of your accounts.
All right, thank you, Linda, for that question. All right, it looks like we have run out of questions today. I want to remind you guys that if you have any other questions about Keyword Planner, things that you can do with it, or just about AdWords in general, you can always tweet us at AdWords with the hashtag AskAdwords. And you can also send us a message on Google Plus with the hashtag AskAdwords. We have people standing by to answer your questions during normal business hours, both in the U.S. and the U.K. So thank you so much for joining us today. We want to thank Stephanie for taking us through such a great presentation, and Deepti for being here to help answer questions as well. Thank you again, and this was Creating Campaigns with Keyword Planner.